Hey, Nakia.
Hey,
How are you?
doing good. Very busy today.
I know. I feel like I'm at the I feel like I'm just multitasking constantly and like I'm literally like you can't multitask anymore. You're going to make a mistake. You're going to drop a ball. It's going to break. And then I'm like, "Wait, I have to like constantly have to multitask." So,
How's your day going?
um so fun story. My mom so when I was in college, I got a cat, right? So I've had this cat since she was 6 months old. About 3 years ago, I was traveling a lot for work. So my mom was like, "Hey, I'll take care of your cat. So your roommates only have to worry about your dog," because I had a cat and a dog. And lo and behold, my mother never gave me my cat back. But I'm not going to be like, "You grew me in your womb for 40 weeks. Like, give me my cat back." You know what I mean? Like, that's my mom. So she's in the Philippines for 3 weeks right now. And I'm cat sitting my cat for my mom. But I also, since in the past 3 years, I've also moved into a small apartment. And so I live in approximately 531 square feet of space, but that also includes my balcony and my abnormally, like, unnecessarily large bathroom. So, and a walk-in closet. So, like, I live in a tiny, tiny space, and um, I have these two animals that are just like being animals. The cat's being a cat, the dog is being a dog, and I'm just in between. So it's been a lot.
So having your cat back, now are you thinking she can just keep it?
No, I forgot how cute this cat is and how sassy she is. So it's just like, um, I really enjoy it, but like I just don't have the space.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, like now I'm like fantasizing about like moving out to the middle of nowhere to a place where I can afford like more than 500 square feet of space. Like maybe a place where I have a yard, maybe a place where I have more than one bedroom. And then I could have all the animals, maybe chickens.
It sounds like
And
you just want to have a farm.
actually, that would be the dream. I am definitely a city slicker, but like deep down inside, Maricela is a farm girl. How are you? Like, how have you been, Nakia?
I've been doing great, but my cases have decided that they just want to go nuts. Luckily, most things are settling rather than litigating, but that doesn't minimize the amount of work involved. So work welcomed me back after my vacations, and it's just been really busy, but I can't complain at all. I
Yeah,
really enjoy it.
ain't that just the way? Hi, Bree. Thanks for joining us.
There we go.
Oh, hello.
Hi, sorry. Hey, thanks. Yeah, I was on mute and multitasking on another screen. So,
So aren't we all?
yeah, right. How are you?
I am good. I was telling Nakia about how I'm like multitasking so much that like I feel like I have nightmares where I'm like doing something wrong. That is my life right now.
I was multitasking and talking to a few people in a presentation, I don't know, 6 months ago or a year ago. And I wrote something and was sharing my screen. It was so embarrassing. So one of those moments where you're like, did that really just happen?
Oh no.
Yeah. So it did. It happened. Actually, Elliot, you might have been on that call when I was sharing the screen and talking about somebody on our video. Elliot's frozen.
Can everyone hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, great.
was telling them an embarrassing moment about commenting on a shared screen on my Jabber chat. I think you might have been on that call.
Yeah. Yes, I was.
Yeah, I love when I have team members that message me. They're like, "You're sharing your screen."
Yeah. When everyone had to switch over to doing virtual meetings when COVID first started, that was quite the learning curve for some people.
Yeah. I think there's quite a few people who still don't use Teams and such very well,
Yeah,
or
is,
technology, I should say.
Yeah, Teams is fairly new to me. I mean, the only time I ever used Teams when I worked at HDR was for these meetings. And now that I'm at the core, it feels like almost every meeting is a Teams meeting. So.
Is industry using WebEx still?
I mean, I know HDR was when you and I left, but and I think some people use WebEx within the core as well. I know Deanna uses it, but
I have both. I have my own, and WebEx tends to like freeze and not work after about 20 minutes. So
yeah. Okay, so it looks like we've got 15 people in. Maybe we'll give it one more minute here real quick and then get things started. Other than our guest speaker today, who is Bree Wilson, I'm not used to saying that last name yet, but we've got Bree Wilson from the Army Corps as our special guest this month. We'll have a couple of updates and announcements regarding Clean Currents and what our plans are for meeting after Clean Currents, but before the holidays. And then that should be about it, I think, in terms of what the agenda is going to be. And in the time I've been talking, a minute has passed. We've got 17 people in the meeting, so I say let's go ahead and get started. So welcome everyone to September's Flow meeting. Yeah, I guess before diving in, let's go ahead and introduce ourselves for our guest speaker today, starting with Bradley. So if you want to say who you are, where you work, and how many years you've been in industry, and then we'll just move on to the next folks in the participants list. That would be great. So Bradley, if you want to kick us off.
Hi, everybody. Brad Boyer, New York Power Authority, Niagara Falls, New York, mechanical engineer working in mechanical maintenance at Robert Moses Niagara Powerhouse.
Nice.
Great. Brett Parker.
Hi, thanks. My first time taking part in one of these meetings. My name is Brett Parker. I work for a company called Sumitomo Drive Technologies. We're a manufacturer of mechanical gearbox equipment, supplied often on lift gates and other hoist equipment. Been with the company 15 years now, and in the industry about probably 7 or 8 from an engineering and now in sales.
Great. Thank you for joining.
Thanks for having me.
Brian Hodges.
Good afternoon, everybody. Brian Hodges with Eagle Creek Renewable Energy, responsible for business development and asset management here. And then I haven't been in the industry a year yet. I think be December. It's coming December.
Great. Bella.
Hi, everyone. It's Bella. I am a civil engineer at Stamptech. I've been working here for about 6 years now, and I work in our hydropower planning group.
Great, thank you. Mark Christian.
Howdy, everybody. This is Mark Christian. I'm a technical leader with EPRI. I've been in the industry for 6 or 7 years, and I lead up R&D in hydro asset management and modernization. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Corey.
Hey there, I'm Corey Hale with Superior Lidgewood Mundy, sales engineer, and I've been with Superior for about 3 months now.
Great, thank you. Bill Crowley.
Hello, Bill Crowley. Past year, I've joined Hatch Consulting Engineering Group. Prior to that, I worked at Voith Hydro for 34 plus years, background in mechanical engineering. My current role with Hatch is I'm their lead in the U.S. for turbine generator support for rehab projects, new projects, etc. Glad to join the group.
Yeah, perfect. Glad to have you. Renee.
Morning, Renee Fernandez. Well, good afternoon. Renee Fernandez-Flip with Pacific Gas and Electric. And I've been with Flow probably since it started, I think. And yeah, I mean, that's it. I'm in public safety primarily with PG&E.
Great, thank you. Mackenzie.
Yeah, I do not work in hydro yet, but I do also work for PG&E, and I work in nuclear, looking to switch to hydro at some point in the future. So I love learning about this new stuff.
Oh, perfect. Darren.
Yeah, I'm Darren Houghton. I'm Vice President of Sales and Business Development for Andritz Hydro in the U.S. About 14 years in the industry, and I'll always look forward to these meetings.
Perfect, thank you. Carrie Abernathy Canella.
Hi, I'm actually the intern at NHA, but I am a I'm in hydro, so I'm curious to see what this is about.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks for joining. Kyle.
Hey, my name is Kyle Weiss. I'm a PhD student at the University of Tennessee in Knoxville. I'm studying hydropower, specifically looking at the ancillary services under the HydroWires project run by OR now.
Perfect. Were you one of the students that did the hydro think tank last summer?
I did it. So gosh, it would have been a year ago or so when we were in Atlanta, I believe.
Well, great. Well, thank you for joining. Marla, you're on the participants list. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Of course. Very nice to see all of you. Marla Barnes, Vice President of Member and Industry Engagement for NHA.
Perfect. Thank you. Maricela.
Hi, I'm Maricela. I'm a meeting planner at NHA, also your point of contact for everything Flow. So if you're looking to get connected into the industry, you want to write an article, you just want to do stuff in hydro, let me know. Happy to connect you with anyone who can help you.
Great. Nakia.
Hi, I'm Nakia Arrington. I'm an attorney with Van Ness Feldman in DC.
Perfect. Norbert.
Hi, Norbert Woodhams with Worthington Products. Been in the industry for 3 years and always happy to be a part of this meeting.
Perfect. Andrew.
Hi, I'm Andrew Verderain from New York Power Authority. I work for the hydro engineering department there.
Great. Heidi.
Hi again, everybody. Heidi Wata with Stamptech. I'm a licensing and compliance consultant here. I am also on the NHA Board of Directors, and I'm the board liaison to Flow. So I'm excited to see all these people attending the meeting and some new names as well. So welcome.
Great. Let's see here. And then it looks like I either missed Nuria or she got on after I would have passed her in the alphabet. Nuria, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
No, you didn't miss me. I was late. I was in a phone call. Yeah, this is Nuria Holmes. I do regulatory compliance and relicensing and licensing at SWCA, and I am the vice chair of Flow. Thanks for joining.
Great. And then it looks like we have one person who called in, phone number ending in 95. If you just want to introduce yourself.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
My name is Bilal, and I am working in the Oak Ridge National Lab as a postdoc research associate, and I did my PhD from Georgia Tech, so it is my first time to join that meeting. I tried to join that, the link sent by the Mozilla, but I think maybe when I got an email from the Oak Ridge, they changed the links there. So when we refined one, we cannot join, so I tried through my phone.
Ah, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for joining. Okay, well, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So before making any announcements about future meetings or clean currents, I think we should jump right in and get to know who our guest speaker is today. So this month's guest speaker is Bree Wilson. She is the head of the PID branch of the Army Corps of Engineers Hydroelectric Design Center. Let's see if I can remember what PID stands for. It's Project Integration Delivery or Program Integration? Program. Okay. I'm newer than you, so yeah. Bree comes from HDR, and before HDR, spent quite a bit of time at the Army Corps, so now she's back. Bree was briefly my manager at HDR for about a little over a year, I want to say, maybe a year and a half. Yeah, and Bree has managed to climb the corporate ladder to be essentially the second in command at the Hydroelectric Design Center. And you know, I thought maybe it would be a good idea to hear from Bree before we all go off to clean currents, learn a little bit about you know, how impactful making good impressions early in your career can be, hearing about some of the obstacles that Bree's had to encounter and overcome to get to where she's gotten at such an early age as a woman in hydropower. So yeah, I think without further ado, Bree, if you want to jump right in and tell us a bit more about yourself and a bit about your professional journey.
Happy to. Thanks, Elliot. Can you hear me okay before I start talking?
Yep, sound great.
Good. Yeah, Elliot asked me to speak, and my first question to him was, do you want the textbook version, or how colorful can I be? Because he knows me pretty well, and I'm a fairly open book. But I'm going to give you a little bit of a background about how I got to where I'm at professionally, and then I'd like to kind of loop back and tell you some of the challenges I faced, and hopefully share some things that some of you can relate to, and how I kind of used those to either not propel myself or make myself stronger and, you know, get to where I'm at. So I went to Gonzaga University back in early 2000s. I've been in industry for 18 years. I graduated from Gonzaga in 2004 with my degree in civil engineering. And I was lucky enough to get an internship in college at the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, which was probably the coolest job ever, because you got to go, I'm an outdoorsy person, and you get to go and hike up mountains and inspect these tiny little dams, and then you get to go see these amazing structures. And so I started doing that my junior year of college. After that, I went full-time with FERC as a dam safety inspector. And it's interesting, once you get into hydropower, I feel like you never want to go back, because it's a really great industry, partially because of the amazing structures and the technology, but also the people. It's actually a fairly small community, I think. So I worked with FERC, had a lot of growth there, just learning about how things work. I ended up going to the Corps of Engineers in 2008 and worked there from 2008 till 2016. I was a product coordinator at the time, which that's my current group now. They're now called design managers, but they do all of the project management, coordination with customers, planning, and then monitoring of any scope, schedule, budget for work for HDC for the Corps. So I did that for 6 years, and then was a project manager within the Portland district of the Corps until 2016. And then I ended up stepping outside the Corps for a little bit. It can be a challenge to get to a space in your career where you jump to that next level. I was a GS 13 at age 30, so pretty young, and the next step is a GS 14. So those are the branch chiefs. It's GS 15 is the highest, as most of you probably know. But to get to that 14 level, you need either supervisory experience or a broader experience. So I stepped outside. I worked for the Port of Vancouver for 3 years, managing their dredge program and some large construction projects they have down at the waterfront of Vancouver, Washington. And then I went to HDR and led their federal hydropower program, and then supervised the hydropower group in the HDR Oregon office. I've only been with back with HDC since April now. I applied for my position, which is the Program Integration and Delivery Branch Chief, and took that job, started in April. And so I'm doing that now. As you all know, the first, I feel like maybe 6 months to 2 years is just, you get to 2 years and you feel good, but I'm still in the middle of the fire hose right now. So I had, that's my bio that you can read in any kind of speaker presentation that I have, but it's been a really interesting journey. And I'm going to go back to college because I think it's really important to recognize where we were and how far we've come, but still how far we need to go. I was one of 7 women that graduated in a class of 93. And that was all engineering, so mechanical, electrical, civil. There were 7 of us. And as a freshman at university, I was in my geotechnical engineering class, and my professor asked me to come to his office after class. And I thought, oh, shoot, what'd I do? I don't like getting in trouble. That's in my nature. But I went to his class, and he sat me down and he said, you're never going to be a good engineer as a woman. And I got to tell you, I was like maybe 50% sure I wanted to be an engineer. And when he sat me down and told me that, I'm like, well, shoot, now it's over. I have to do it because I'm going to prove to him that I can do this. But that's a perception that I've even dealt with over the years. I was speaking at a public meeting for the Port of Vancouver, and older gentleman came up and was asking some questions, and he told me, he's like, well, women aren't good engineers, men are good engineers. How have you done this job? And it's just something that, for me, it motivates me, but it's really empowering as I'm continuing to work in this industry to see women come in, and the numbers are growing and growing, and we have a lot of really talented young staff, men and women, but I really like seeing the diversity for sure. So, after getting into engineering, I was going to share this story about my first day at the Corps of Engineers, and it's really ironic because I started mentoring a gal this year. And she sat down in my office and she told me, she goes, when I started at the Corps of Engineers, a person asked me when I came in, whose secretary are you? And I was shocked because that is the same thing that happened to me the first day I started going up the elevator. And again, she started 9 years ago. I was a little bit before her, but I thought, gosh, here's something like, if you were faced with this, how would you handle it? Would you be upset, or would it impact you? For me, again, it motivates me because I want to prove it doesn't matter, what gender you are, what color your skin is, what your background is, like everybody has the same ability. And well, we all have different abilities, but we all should be treated equally. Anyway, so those are just some of the examples as a woman in engineering that I've faced, and I think I'm speaking broadly for all of us, but I'm sure that many of you have dealt with that, and I would love to hear that a little bit later on if you've had those kind of things happen. The other thing that has been really interesting is it's changed since I started, but being a woman, I'm a mother, so that's another part of me that's very important. And when I started my career, that's not something that you could talk about. You went to work, you worked really hard, and I attribute a lot of my success to being one of the hardest working people. You know, you put in the extra hours, you do what needs to be done. But if you want to start a family, how do you balance that? And we've gotten to a space today where we can balance that a little bit better, and not just women, but even dads now are getting parental leave, which is phenomenal. But trying to be a mother and raising children and having a career is just unbelievably challenging. I have one of my employees is about to be a parent, and I was telling him, I'm like, I want you to recognize how much you can do on very little sleep, because now you get 8, 9 hours, whatever you get, you're going to have 3 hours of sleep and you're still going to be able to function. I want you just to recognize how incredible people can be when they are put in a position where they have to do something. So that's been a challenge over the years too. And I think that it's really incredible to get to the space we are now, where we have the ability, as you can see, I'm working from home, where there's flexibility to telework, where there's flexibility to get your kids to school and then come to work and have a flexible schedule and work in the evening. When I have, my oldest is almost 16, and when I had her, you couldn't do that. So you spent your long hours, and it impacted your ability to maybe spend the time at home with the family that you wanted to. And we're getting to a space where you can not only have that flexibility and that work-life balance, but you can still do a good job. And heck, if you need to work 3 hours at 10 o'clock at night to get something done, that's okay too. So I want to just keep supporting that and keep, but let you know that I think that I think COVID impacted that, but I think there's a lot of people that had to work and give up those privileges or work hard to prove that it still could be done. And a lot of people did pave that path for us. You know, one of the other things that has been interesting, I'm a civil engineer and an electrical and mechanical engineering profession, and in hydropower. So most of the things that I'm around are not what I studied in college. Heck, I studied, dirt, and there are obviously some dams that have geotech components, but most of what I've done is I don't have the background to technically do it design-wise or engineering. And one of the most important parts of career, I think, has been developing relationships with people and continuing to educate myself and grow. And I mentioned before people, like the people that I work with and the people that I have worked with. So at HDC, we have 170 folks or so any given day. But the people that I've worked with have been incredible over the years, because I feel like I have developed by just working with them, at being educated by them. And, there's ways to continue education through schooling, but also by working with the people or learning from the people that you're working with. Just trying to think through how I got to where I am now. I remember starting in hydropower, and I couldn't have told you for the life of me how the power came. I know the water came in, but I had no idea how a stator and a rotor worked, and how there's a magnetic field, and then I just no clue. And looking back, I realized how much knowledge I've gained, but because some of my senior staff or mentors sat down with me and taught me, and that's been invaluable over the years. I had one story. I debated telling it, but I think I might tell it. Elliot, you might cringe here, but I want to hit back on the being a female in the engineering field one more time. And I think that this is important for women to understand, but also for men to recognize, so that so that you can help change the dynamic in the workforce. But when I started at the Corps of Engineers, there was a manager at the time who asked me to come into a conference room, and I walked into the conference room, and he sat down in a chair and he asked me to do a spin for him. And I was mortified and left, and I didn't know what to do. And I ended up reporting it, and it all worked out in the end. But I just remember in that moment thinking, oh my God, is this really happening? It was 2010. This is 2010. Is this really happening? And I think I'm thinking back to that, and I was really even nervous to say something at that point. And as I've gotten older, I've really recognized that obviously things like that aren't okay. Things like that happen. But to know, one, to know your worth and to be able to stand up for yourself and not to tolerate those types of situations. And when you stop tolerating those things, that's when things will change. And I guess I was thinking through whether I would say that or not, but I want to bring it up because I think for us, if we want to have a industry that is thriving, it's about the people, and it's how we treat other people, and it's how we are treated. And so we are going to build up and shape what this is in our future, and we can learn from what's happened, and we can all do so much better. And that was my scary story to tell. That was my more colorful story, Elliot. But you know, the other thing I just kind of wanted to talk about was success over the years. Is that it's a slow process. It is like you are gradually building your success. I was listening to a podcast this morning, and it was talking about how you gradually build success. You're either gradually building or you're gradually failing. And I think back to the beginning of my career. Every single step along the way, you're building your career. So don't think that anything is insignificant. And you need to consistently show up. You need to be one of the harder working people. You need to be determined, but you need to consistently show up and put the work in and do the hard work. Be reliable. Do what you say you're going to do. And it's like a lifestyle. I'm really big into running and fitness too, and so I love working out. But it's really interesting because when you're training for a run, you get to your run and you're either going to be successful or not, but you can't do it based on one day. It's months or years of time that you've put in. And so, you know, I would just say that it's you have to show up and you have to put the work in day by day, and it may not show up tomorrow or next week or maybe not even next year, but it will eventually result in success wherever you want to be. And then something that I did early on was I wrote down my why. Why are you doing something? What are your reasons? Why do you deserve to be successful? Why do you deserve, why do you want what you want? And then you write your why down, and then you can figure out how you're going to get there. And for me, my why, my family is my number one why. Like I want to support my family, and I want to show my children what it means to work hard. And then the other why is public service. And why I'm back with the Corps of Engineers. Like, what am I doing to serve my community? What am I doing to make the world better? For me, how am I helping us get to our climate goals? How am I helping us have carbon-free energy? I can't necessarily do it by being an electrical or mechanical engineer, which you are all incredible, but how can I help all of those people be successful and get us to where we need to be? And so if you figure out what your why is, it's really easy to wake up in the morning and go to work. When I was younger, I had a job I didn't love, and I remember waking up in the morning and thinking, gosh, I really don't want to go to work. And you know, yesterday I'm waking up and I'm just I'm excited. I'm getting my kids off to school and I'm getting ready and I'm going to work and I love it. And if you figure out your why, you'll figure out where you need to be, what position you need to be in, and you'll enjoy work, and it won't feel like work. It'll feel like what you're supposed to be doing. So I know that's probably shorter than you wanted, Elliot, but that's what I got.
No worries. Yeah, no, I think that was perfect. I don't know if any attendees have any questions or comments for Bree. I know that I have one just to kind of get us kicked off, because I know you personally, and I know how important in your professional and personal life that relationships are. And so given that next month we have Clean Currents, and a lot of our participants, you know, I know that some of them for sure were at Clean Currents last year. For some of them, this is their first Clean Currents. And for some other people, this could be their first conference in general. With regards to relationships and networking, I guess what advice do you maybe have for some of the folks on this call in terms of how to get the most out of their first conference?
Well, I think one, you got to be brave, right? You got to be able to go up and talk to people. Two, for me, relationships have always been, and Elliot knows this, like we go grab coffee in the mornings. The relationships are about the people. It's not about what job can you get me, what contract can you get me. I focus on getting to know the people and building those relationships. And, you know, eventually the rest will come. It's really like we're all people, and I want to know about Elliot's home remodel, or, you know, we talk about all those things and then we get to the work. You know, I think it's important to focus on building relationships authentically when you're out there, and also just getting out there and trying to meet as many people as you can.
Great. Maricela, looks like you have a hand raised.
Yeah, so my question is, I guess you mentioned looking back and realizing how much you've learned since coming to, since starting your journey, and you've tossed out a bunch of words that I don't remember. But how did you learn that? Like, what were your best resources aside from just getting thrown into it?
Gosh, I mean, my coworkers, the subject matter experts, you know, you go to the turbine guy and ask him a turbine question, and it's also curiosity, like, how does this work? What is that? What is this component on this drawing? Or when you're out at a plant, like, what is this other box that looks exactly like this other box? Elliot knows what I'm talking about, but it's the people you're working with. And when you're out, curiosity really is a big part of it too, asking the questions to try to seek to understand, just always seeking to learn more and seeking to understand.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any other questions or comments?
This is Nudia. Oh, two people spoke, didn't they?
I was about to say something, but then you started, so go ahead.
Oh. This is Nudia, Bree, and my name actually might seem mildly familiar to you.
I remember you.
Yes. Sorry. I didn't come to HDR, but that's okay. So I know earlier in your presentation, you mentioned, like, I'm kind of curious other situations that have happened to you. And something I wanted to share with the group was being dissatisfied, I guess, in the role I was at my former employer. I put myself out there by starting at the top of a very short list of people that had ever mentioned me potentially going to work for them. And the first phone call I made when I was looking for a new job was Elliot. But that sort of spiraled into a growth phase for me, because, and this is maybe my advice to everyone on this call, is by continuing to explore other opportunities that I had out there, I ended up getting really good feedback from Bree and Elliot, and they set me up an interview with someone on their hydropower team at HDR named Jenna. And I spoke to Jenna at length about, is there feedback on my end?
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, maybe I am.
I think if everyone on the call would mute themselves.
Oh yeah.
That would hopefully solve your problem.
So I spoke at length with Jenna about what I was doing in the role where I was at my previous employer. And she said to me, for the first time in my life, and I had this gut feeling that this was true, but nobody had ever said it to me. Well, at HDR, we call those people senior project managers. And that was the first time that somebody had ever validated the quality and like the caliber I thought I was doing. So when I was preparing for my first interview at HDR, because that conversation with Jenna was very casual, I wrote something down that I have since saved, and I've passed it along to all of my female coworkers, which is something I call my imposter syndrome manifesto. And it's essentially notes and bullets about all of the different tiers and types of work I do, and what my strengths are, and what I contribute to teams. And I really encourage everyone to do something like that, because on a day-to-day basis, you don't realize how much you're contributing and how much you're learning. And when you hear someone say something, maybe it's a word choice or a piece of advice they give you, write that down. Those are hot tips from your peers and people that have more experience than you. And they're teaching you how to basically level up, right? How do I level up? How do I grow in my current position and move to that next step? So that was a really pivotal part of me getting the senior project manager role at SWCA. And I don't even think you and Elliot and Jenna have any idea that you did that. So I am a hot mess today and I need to do my eyebrows, but I wanted to say thank you to both of you. And I'm super excited to finally meet you, because I have had a lot of self-doubt in my career journey.
You got to know your worth, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And sometimes it's really hard to put in words. It almost feels like bragging. If for some reason, to me, it feels like bragging if you do too much of that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I recognize that, but you can be humble and still know your worth, right? Well, congratulations. I'm really glad to hear that.
Yeah. And thank you to both of you. I'm excited that you're here today.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Well, great. Thank you. It looks like Christopher has his hand raised.
Yeah, Bree, hi, this is Chris Eden from Stamptech. And one of the things that's kind of come up with mentorship and growth and some of the discussions that we've been having in our company have been kind of, the ways of learning some of those soft skills that, engineers don't get to learn through school. And this is a really key thing. And, the way that I typically learn them was kind of through trial and error, which I don't always say is the best way to learn them. And there's definitely some emails that I've sent that I wish I, could have pulled back before they got sent. And just communication and some other things. And we've gotten some opportunities through some trainings and stuff. So I just generally, the question is did you do were there any pathways or ways that you picked up soft skills outside of maybe work, or things that you got involved in that you thought would kind of be beneficial to people, or at least looking out for those opportunities to kind of get that training? Because sometimes it's not right in your face of where you can get that stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And let me be clear, my soft skills aren't at all perfected, as I'm sure many people who know me will say. I say exactly what's on my mind, even probably when I shouldn't. But I have learned to moderate that in some respect. There were some so the Corps has a leadership development program. And some of the things that we took during that were learning about ourselves. So through a leadership class, we learned about our communication styles, our leadership styles. I'm sure some of you have heard of Strength Finders. And we also learned about emotional intelligence. So there's a lot of different books that you can read, a lot of different types of tests that you can take to learn what your strengths are, learn communication styles, and also learn about learn about how to improve. Emotional intelligence is a really big one. I'll be very blunt, which is pretty much who I am. I struggle with empathy at times. And so something that I have taken to was educating myself on how other people receive information and how to be empathetic when maybe it's not your first natural reaction. I have a book and I'm blanking on the name of it. I'll have to share it with Elliot when I figure it out, but it teaches you how to communicate a little bit better when your style is different from the other person's. And I'm going to write this down to tell Elliot the book. But the other thing, we have PSU, Portland State University has some classes, and I'm sure other local universities do have classes on communication, emotional education, and leadership that I think are really valuable. And I'm sure, does Stamptech have a leadership development type program?
Yeah, I've done similar type things, communication styles and your Myers-Briggs and those kind of things. There's quite a bit internally, and I'm finding that more and more the industry is doing these things or providing these opportunities. I was just at the Hydro Research Foundation or Hydropower Foundation event. And they brought in emotional intelligence, and I said, thank you so much, because it's one of these things where it's such a good lesson to learn, and so many engineers in the past, and given your experience with the comments that you got about being a female engineer, was clearly previous generations were not taught these things,
right?
And that's frustrating, and even more so than just for our younger staff, but even our there's definitely older staff that I think it's really critical to participate in these trainings as well. I mean, we do a lot internally, but I haven't done as much externally, but I'm starting to see it more and more. And it's just something that I think if you find opportunities, you can get engaged with it. It makes a huge difference in where your career goes.
Absolutely. And I like what you said though about learning, you try it and then you learn it, because that actually, like, as long as you're willing to accept, you don't want to cross the line, but as long as you're willing to learn from what you do, I think that's probably the way we learn the most, right? Is through making a mistake and then having humility and taking feedback and doing better.
Oh, I've made plenty of mistakes that I have learned from. I'm sure we all have.
Yes.
So, one, Elliot, you're on mute, but I'm just going to talk anyways. I am sorry, not sorry. Not so much a question, just as much as it's a comment. I literally sent out a flow email maybe about an hour or two ago. It was a little late, sorry. But it has a lot of information on clean currents. First of all, Bree Wilson is going to be speaking at the Women Waterpower Breakfast, so you'll get to hear more of her pro tips there. Two, we do actually have like this need for how to advocate for yourself, like how to present yourself, how like these soft skills, those are requests that we hear all the time. So we actually have a workshop called Advocating for the Best You. It's on Tuesday, and it's included in part of your government laptop, government quality. Sorry, that's so funny. It's included in your Clean Currents registration. So we have the Advocating for the Best You, and then we also have another workshop on maximizing your mentorship or mentee-mentor relationship. So this is not just for mentees to learn about how to drive the mentee-mentor relationship, but it's also about for mentors, because these mentor-mentee relationships, you learn on both sides. And it's not just a one-sided transactional relationship. It's two people who are, I guess, growing in their careers together. So both workshops are going to be really exciting. Kelly Schaefer is going to be one of the co-hosts of them. And I know that advocating for the best you, it does center on what it's like to be a woman in an industry dominated by men, but it's also just for young professionals in general, to help build those skills. And all of this is in the Clean Currents email that I just sent out. It gives you like all the best things to look for. So there's going to be a bike ride, there's going to be a social. We want to put your face up on the big screen. So please read that email. That's all. That's my plug.
You're still on mute. It's not working.
Maricela, can you unmute him?
Now she's on mute. Somebody's ghost muting people. And
I was not given presenter authority, so cool. Let me check the meeting settings.
Maricela, you're still on mute too.
Yeah, sorry. Then I
There
started
you go.
talking. Okay, right. So I guess Nuria and I can just take this over. Nuria, do you want to talk about some of the social things that are happening at Clean Currents?
Yes. I believe, hold on, let me pull that up real quick, because just a reminder to those on the phone, I do see a lot of new names today. There is a flow discount that Maricela can get for you, especially if you are not planning on going, and your organization says you can go, but it's expensive. This is a really good way to get the cost savings across it as a flow member. So it's 50% off, which is that's a huge discount. There's also going to be the Flow networking social at Flat Stick Pub. When you sign up to go to the conference, it will ask you in there to go to the flat, or do you have to pay separately for that?
You can add it onto your registration.
Okay.
It's $15, but if that's something that you just can't justify, let me know and we can see what we can do for you.
Yeah. And also it's not going to be just $15 to get in the door. It actually includes a drink or is it lawn bowling? No, some kind of weird game I've never heard of.
And there'll be like appetizers, because
yeah,
you never serve alcohol on an empty stomach. That's just bad news bears.
And then on Wednesday at 2:15, there's going to be a meet and greet at the NHA booth. That's a really good time. I know somebody was mentioning, how do you break the ice, practice your soft skills? That's a really good time to practice that. The Flow leadership will be there to facilitate introductions, and yeah, just come up to us. Don't be shy. And we are certainly not shy, so we will be finding you if you're against the wall. So, yeah. And then just a reminder on programming for young professionals, there's the workshops on Tuesday, the Women in Waterpower breakfast, which Bree is speaking at, so you should 100% go. There's a Family Feud session on Thursday, which I believe Elliot got roped into, which should be awesome. And on the NHA Clean Currents page, you can actually filter by young professionals. And do you want to talk about the October flow call or lack of, Maricela?
So because all the cool kids will be in Sacramento in October, we will not be having a flow call. I will dearly miss those of you who can't make it to Sacramento. I understand it's not always something that's in the cards, but we will have a call in November. We're actually moving it up to November 10 because we know that there's a lot going on in that month. It's right before the holidays, and that will be our final call for the year. We will talk about what day we want to have this in the future. Is this the time that works for everyone? We'll talk about like the direction of flow. We'll debrief on Clean Currents. How was it? I'm sure we'll have plenty of new names and new faces to introduce. So I'll send out a calendar invite with more lead time this time.
And have we unveiled the Flow logo? It was actually in today's email, which was very exciting, but we have a few minutes.
Yeah, so I think we talked about it last week, but I can actually pull it up right now. So we are in the process of revamping the Flow website, but I will give you kind of a quick sneak peek. Share my window.
The last logo wasn't bad, but it may or may not have been made on clip art.
Yeah, so this is our new Flow logo, this logo right here on the right. So it's the flag. And this is our current page. So it's like 90% done. But we wanted it to kind of reflect the excitement and the youth and the energy of this group. So the Flow logo is a flag, and you'll notice that the waves are sort of imperfect, and that's because like this is a youthful group. It has a lot more energy. The blue stands for water, the yellow stands for electricity, and the red stands for like the electricity turning into heat. So the logo also comes in many different colors. So it can come in yellow, it can come in this red, it can come in the teal and the navy. We will have stickers and a Flow giveaway at the Clean Currents. Yeah, thank you, Bree, for joining us. And I think one last thing before we let everyone go, I have a few housekeeping notes. If you need to leave, totally understand. But one, we are still accepting auditions for the opening video. So we're creating an opening, like exciting, energetic hype video for the opening of Clean Currents. If you want to see your face on the big screen, I need an audition tape. So that consists of you literally just recording yourself on your cell phone and answering the prompt, which goes, I work in Waterpower because whatever you want to say. It's just an audition, so don't worry about your hair, don't worry about your makeup, don't worry about the lighting, don't worry about what you're wearing. Yes, exactly. We just want to see your camera presence and like your energy come through. So like, we don't want to have people on video who are like, I work in Waterpower, because that's not going to work. Like, and all of you have different reasons, so like kind of like make it your own. We're hoping to highlight a few of the best videos that we get. We will, once we pick the finalists, we'll send you a green screen. We will set you up with professional recording software, and you can just record it on your laptop. So feel free to text that to me. I'll put my cell phone in the chat.
And I did mine this morning, and it was maybe 8 seconds. It's one sentence, right?
Yep, one sentence. Any other questions?
Nope, I think we lost Elliot. So thank you again so much, Bree. Again, no meeting in October. This meeting will be rescheduled for November, so just keep a lookout on your calendar. And otherwise, we're excited. If you still need a justification to get to Clean Currents, email us and we can help you with the justification toolkit that's on the website. But thank you all again for joining, and I guess we'll end a little bit early today.
Oh, Marla, did you have something to say or just saying bye? Nope.
No,
All right.
I was just saying bye. Look, really appreciated seeing everybody today. It was great to have so many of you on, and we'll see you all in Sacramento.
Yay!
Right. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.